Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2, with arguably the best Protoss player in the world in the red, the mysterious MaxPax. But he's up against the fastest Zerg out there, the Italian Stallion. It's Reynor. A best-of-5 Protoss versus Zerg Grand Finals, where the keys to victory will be aggression, speed, and probably some more speed after that. So I'll take a cue from these two young nerds by quickly begging you for likes, and maybe even subscribes. And Jimmy, what are we... Quickly, 1,389 likes on this video, on this cast. I'll cast another one. Nope, probably do it anyways. I don't know what else I would do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far, and hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. Adept shades in between the main and the natural. Queen unhappy about it, but the Overlord actually on the high ground to give vision to stop that Adept from being able to pick off a couple drones. Little details, but probably saved at least one drone's life. As the Queen strongly suggests the Adepts don't go any further, and the Adepts do not respect her statements. They will have to respect the Zerglings, though, as the Queens knock out one. And an Oracle is on the way, but already losing one Adept is an inauspicious start for a Protoss player, who's working now on the mineral wall with 10 minerals apiece, and I put the little indicator there in case you can't actually click on them. Looks like he's going to turtle up effectively on those 3 pocket bases, while Reynor will be forced to defend against the Oracles and Adepts. Alright. Wow. Actually just slaps down the Revelation and uses a little bit of extra energy to knock out the creep tumors, trying to stop the spread before it starts. Appreciate that. The oncologist Protoss here making sure that he has as much time as possible to try to poke and prod between the bases before the Queens are able to maneuver more easily. More Zerglings on the way. Actually, no, they're running back. There are no more Zerglings in production. Wasn't that hard to figure that out, but somehow messed that up. Oracle comes in, dodges into a Spore, but gets 2 kills, and the customary orange health on the way out. More and more drones in production, and Moracles being built for MaxPax, who now slaps down a Twilight Council and a couple more gates. Queens, politely yet firmly, trying to push that Oracle away. Maybe gets another drone or 2. But the Queens, again, going to repel it. So far, so good for Reynor. He's been able to keep the Adepts, such as they are, and the Oracles off most of his drones, and build up over 50 of them at the 5-minute mark quite quickly. MaxPax not slouching either. He's got 50 probes, he's got the Twilight in the Forge, and he's got the best Blink Stalker micro in the business. So I would be somewhat surprised, and maybe even lightly shocked, if he didn't go for Blink. Yeah, there it is. Looks like I'll be okay for now. Forge on the way as well. But, Oracles, do they have enough energy for that? Well, one's about to run out. The second one has a bit more. The Queens...
Sir, this is a message from the Hatchery Owners Association. This is private property.
I don't...
Oh, God, Susan, go back to the...
Oracle comes back. 4 drones dead as the 2 Oracles at the 4th drag the Queens out of position. And gets a few more drones. And that allows MaxPax to carve out a very slight worker lead. But most importantly, buys him a little more time to build up towards the Blink Stalkers. Because the best defense, especially against Zergs of this caliber, is a good offense. As soon as Reynor is allowed to really spread out on the map, start hitting multiple angles, which is very difficult on this map to start, it gets a lot harder for Protoss. But right now, with the Oracles overhead to cover against large groups of Zerglings, the Revelation to knock out the creep tumors, and the Stalkers, and oh my god. Fleet Beacon. He reaches to the skies. It's going to be a mothership rush? It looks like carriers, but somewhere in between. It's unclear. But MaxPax is covering for his fleet beacon with these Blink Stalkers. He's done this build so many times. He's put so much pressure on with the Blink Stalkers that Reynor has to respect it. It could easily be 8-gate Blink Stalker effectively all in. So right now, Reynor is making no indication like he's worried about anti-air. But he also is worried about this base. Thankfully for MaxPax, he has a Spylon there at the base it looked like he wanted to take. But a well-placed cannon. The Stalkers actually recall back. I think they went to the natural, but Infestation Pit is on the way. 2 carriers in production, a carrier rush. No two ways about it for MaxPax. This is about as rushed as it gets for players of this caliber. You need to have something. You need some metaphorical boots on the ground. I don't think they really wear boots, but not important. In order to cover for your Stargate. Otherwise, you'll be left with almost nothing to deal with, say, a Baneling bust. But, well, he's completely out of position, and this is certainly an interesting choice. Bust through the Zerglings, trickling through the wall. The force field, a tourniquet on the ramp, but already so many Zerglings in the base. And another wave as well, headed towards the third. No shield. Oh, shield battery overcharge was used at the front. The Zerglings can surround. They got +1 melee done, but the carriers have arrived. They'll have to be used for defense. The Oracles light up, trying to clear up the Zerglings. They're finally overrunning the cannons and the shield batteries. The main is cleaned up. The natural as well, but 16 probes dead and counting. 18, 19, 20 probes slaughtered. And behind this, Reynor went up to 87 drones. He's got a hive on the way. 5 Hydras in production. And already Hydra speed as well. 4 more Queens. So, 2 carriers, a bunch of Stalkers, and still the Oracles. This is a dangerous army. And now Reynor's a little bit supply blocked at a very unfortunate time. There's no other way for Reynor to flank this army right now. He's going to try to go through the rocks. But it's a great position to fight into until there's too many Queens and Hydras as well. And the force field on the mineral wall area just funneling Zerglings in. The Oracles are protecting the rocks, which are the cheapest version of a wall. And then a stasis creates another force field of Zerglings. The Queen supporting the Hydras with anti-air.
Why is it always us, Brenda? Shut up, Karen. We're supposed to do everything, okay? So you can't really complain. That seems pretty vague. It was meant to be. Like, they really couldn't decide what our role was supposed to be, so they gave us all of them.
The Queen's holding the line. And actually pushing back, though without the creep, they're definitely going to struggle. +1, ranged attack is done. And Reynor maybe losing his Infestation Pit, which is in a curious location indeed. The Zerglings coming back around, but the Oracles still have energy. And he could put a couple units on the high ground. He might just get the Infestation Pit and get out. He does so. The carriers are continuing forward. MaxPax's carriers starting to grind through, but carriers are a rich man's unit. Each one of those interceptors at 15 minerals apiece. Yes, it seems like kind of a random number. We've gone back and forth on it. But 15 is where it landed. So, oh, a huge stasis. But the Hydras in the front. And the Oracles, yep, those are Hydras. Slaps a revelation, but more of a panic. Force field is good, but the interceptors keep getting picked off. A line of dead Zerglings on the ground, but the Hydras have broken through into the natural. The next level of counterattack is making things more and more difficult as MaxPax scrambles back to defend. He's taken a 4th base, but he's losing his natural. He finally got a few charge lots, it looks like, making their way all the way to the south. But another group of units. Hydras on the right, Hydras down the center. Zerglings on the mineral line. 58 probes still for MaxPax, but he's bleeding out. The wall has been torn asunder. And the Hydras, well, not exactly a great angle, unless they can just pick off a carrier for free, which is, well, that's pretty cool. So that was best case scenario, though the Hydras do get slaughtered. And peace in our time. Okay, now what? Oh, was that the only carrier that died? That was the only carrier. The one that kind of rallied out into the Hydras. There's still 5 carriers headed towards the main, and Reynor is only now on Hive Tech. He's making Vipers. He's getting a Lurker Den, but he has no way to force those carriers to fight him. If they overstay their welcome, it could be dangerous. But he's using those interceptors to try to pick off the Queens. And a mothership! The tactical mothership provides another escape option or potential defense with cloaking. So far, so good. MaxPax holding on, despite the overwhelming amount of units that Reynor has thrown at him. 250 Zerglings in 12 minutes. The Interceptors, he's got +1 air now. But the Interceptors are just getting popped out of the sky. The Zerglings on another base. +2 melee done. Adrenal glands as well. They just eviscerated the mineral line. A dozen probes dead. MaxPax drops under 50. But he still has a bunch of carriers. And only now is Reynor making any corruptors. He needs to knock them out of the sky. But Templar have been added into the army. As MaxPax has built that composition up. And Reynor needs to start dismantling it soon. Because MaxPax, his army supply is looking very good. And Storm is an incredibly dangerous option. But the Vipers feedback 0 out of 5. Storm across the board. Hydras and Queens. Archon merge for the wall, but the Zerglings get in again, and he has to recall back. Splits off a few of them. Archons with... he's back in the main. I'm surprised he doesn't have Burrow to make it extra annoying. But a few Zealots, a small counterattack, relieves some of the pressure, forces the Hydras back, but the thing is he already used the recall to return to base. So there's really no opportunity for MaxPax to take advantage of the fact that Reynor has to pull back there. Alright, +2 melee, +1 range stat, trying to rebuild the wall, the Archon's behind it. But Reynor smacks it down again. Another gate, 4 more probes. Reynor keeps sending the Zerglings, but MaxPax is consolidating his army. He's putting it all together, and the Death Ball is growing in strength. And that is underselling the amount of complexity in this army and the difficulty of keeping it alive against this amount of Zerg. But the same sentiment really applies. As with the carriers and with Storm, you have the ticket for a potential one-shot victory. Where if you just win a fight well enough, there's no way the Zerg can reinforce and rebuild again. And especially on a map just like this, it's the best case scenario for MaxPax, who's been kind of jammed into this corner while Reynor has taken not as much as you'd think, but still 5 bases on his side of the map. Things slow down as Reynor starts to realize it's going slightly worse every single time. Every one of these attacks has gotten a little bit less done. So overall, it's time to tech up and make sure he has what it takes to beat whatever the army ends up being. Though no Greater Spire at the moment. Mothership. Carriers. Interceptors. Storm on the ramp knocks out a bunch of Zerglings as well. But even 3 or 4 Zerglings. Oh, they kill probes so fast. Reynor is making his Spire great again. Vipers gathering energy. And, yeah, we're at that stage where it's just so dangerous to try to engage with more than small groups of units. Dragging some more energy out of the Evo chambers. 4 lurkers in production. 5 spores. Reynor is setting up for that late game defense. If MaxPax tries to take another pace, that's where he'll smash him. Or at least attempt to. But it seems like Reynor is content to sit back and take the rest of the map. Even some lurkers added in on the ground. Queens.
Brenda, come back.
MaxPax is maxed out, and he's paxed everything up. And, well, where is he going? Counterattack looking for an opportunity. Cannons, that stasis, looming large here. But the lurkers force the issue. Storm is very good. It's not going to be enough to break it, but it puts a timer on things. The feedback on the Viper. The detection is the Spore Crawler's Blinding Cloud attempted, but the carriers, the golden swarm of interceptors. A lot of damage on those Archons, though. The lurkers are starting to chew through. The Templar moving into position. Storms across the front line. They also hit the interceptors as well. You got to be a bit careful about that. 12 probes dying. MaxPax concentrating on this fight, and it may very well pay off for him. 58 more Zerglings. Reynor has broken this position. A recall to save the day. He doesn't want to give this up entirely. He does have detection to a couple observers with it. There's still the option for the Mothership recall. More Archons. Feels like Reynor is towing the line quite well here. He's still maxed out. He's still got quite an army. He has all the pieces. The hardest part is putting them together. Because those interceptors are still so dangerous. I can't believe he was able to drag the mothership, but he gets it. No time warp. No cloaking, if that becomes relevant. There's no recalling out of here. If you go up that ramp, you better come out of it winning the game. Or not at all. Reynor, he's losing his hive and his greater spire. What's going on? Alright, is he just giving up his main? The problem is, this cuts the tech tree off at the stump. He's gonna have to restart from the spawning pool. He has the army. He's going for a semi-base trade. But he didn't rebuild any of the... I don't know if there's a spire out here. I don't think so. MaxPax's still working on it. He's still got plenty of Templar. Storm. The interceptor count at 69, which is still nice enough to overrun everything on the ground without support. The Corruptors are required. There is a second spire, but it's in the main invulnerable now. But MaxPax is down to 18 probes. He has effectively no income. The Death Ball, indeed. There's still a few Templar. The Observer spots the army. MaxPax tries to extract himself without losing any of his carriers, but the Vipers are coming in from the right flank. He yanks in one. Carrier knocked down. Down goes the base. MaxPax is running out of real estate in a literal sense. His building count is dropping. The Corruptors, oh, they get on top of the carriers. There's not enough energy for Storm. Drops the Changelings. Reynor playing hard to get. The problem is MaxPax doesn't have enough forces to defend his base and attack at the same time. He must choose one or the other. Reynor exploiting that. The Vipers. There's still some full energy Templar, but they're a little late. And the carriers only have +3 attack. Not that that would help very much against this many Corruptors. Oh, if he can keep... He's activated the interceptors. Actually, I think he just wanted to take down the rock so he could move. A couple more Zealots warped in with whatever he has left. MaxPax has to be careful to always have enough money to at least build observers. But here we go. Storm, feedback. The carriers are dragged in. He's gonna get one. He gets two. And I don't know how many Vipers are left, though. The carrier's still working through. Those... well, he just taps it out. MaxPax sees the writing on the wall and realizes there's just too many Corruptors left. Just for us, human beings. Yeah, there's not enough carriers. Reynor whittles him down, and he forces him to acknowledge defeat, because eventually Reynor was just going to send enough Zerglings to outright kill the base. So, instead of being physically eliminated from the game, MaxPax chooses to tap out. Reynor keeps the pressure on long enough, though it looked a little dicey there for a moment. He never beat the army, but he beat the rest. Just grinding it down. I don't think we'll see that kind of turtley style from MaxPax again. Kind of map specific, and I like it as a game 1 option. Throw it out there, see what happens. Maybe it works out. Reynor is well known for getting a little antsy against those late game style compositions, but his patience has upgraded at least several levels lately. There was an hour-long game not too long ago, I believe on this map, that Reynor ended up outlasting through. There was a time, not too long ago, where Reynor could be reliably predicted to just continue throwing like Lings and Hydras at bases until he lost or his opponent did. But enough about that silly past. We're going to talk about the present, and the present that Reynor has brought MaxPax, which is a hatchery. Hello. Would you like a hatchery, sir? Please sign for this hatchery. Is he drone rushing? No, those are Zerglings. All right. I mean, kind of. MaxPax is just going to wall behind it, which is some real, that's a vibe. There's not that much surface there. That probe needs to get out of the way. I don't think this... I think the hatchery walls, but he can cancel the hatch, is the thing. He brought 3 probes down, but there are more Zerglings coming across. Is this... Well, it's worth it if he gets the Zealot. And I don't know if he'll end up canceling this. The larva might be inside where he wants to wall, kind of. We're gonna find out. A second Zealot pops out. More Zerglings on the way. Will Reynor cancel this at a key timing? I don't think so. I think this is part of the build. Alright, if there was ever a time. Nope, the hatchery finishes, and now there's creep spreading behind the wall. I don't know if MaxPax accounted for this. He's not going to be able to wall off because of the creep. So, but, oh, he gets a surround of sorts. There's still some adepts. It's, well, well, it's kind of unclear. There's about to be the shield battery. He's building Zerglings inside the base. Well, huh. Huh. The Queen's Brenda! Screw you guys! Gonna try to... Did he get Zerglings in? He did. Oh, the Queen will be killed. The Zerglings hunted down. The creep is going to deny the expansion. Reynor only has 15 drones. He's expanding now. In fact, he finished his second base. He just doesn't have the money to do anything with it. If he got a creep tumor, this would be way harder to deal with for MaxPax, but there was no way he was going to let that happen. A creep tumor would delay this base for quite a while, considering he has no tech but gateways and a cyber core. But the adept shade into the main, and this is a bit disastrous. Reynor put all his eggs in the hatchery. Well, eggs in the hatchery basket? Hatchery in the egg basket? Well, the eggs come out of the hatchery. Not sure how that factors in here. I'll get back to you on that. Meanwhile, though, the adepts throwing shade. And I think Reynor did not want to go to another Turtley-style game, as this map can trend towards them. I told you about the trauma of 1 hour facing Sky Toss. So, but now we're here, where it delayed MaxPax enough that it's bad. It's bad. Reynor's probably dead. It would be hard to actually screw this up for MaxPax, I think, because Reynor is so far behind in both economy and just workers in general. Wait, that's the same thing, but the drones, it's gonna kill 4 of them. Adept Glaive's on the way. Yeah, it's really bad. Okay, well, 6 drones, which amounts to about 1/3 of his economy. Adept's gonna shade in. It's like 1 more will die, but even a single adept could do terrible, terrible damage here. Yeah. Reynor agrees. Well, that was one of the more original builds. I do wonder if Reynor had that planned out beforehand, or if the thought struck him as he loaded into the game. It seemed interesting because the hatchery blocked the expansion, and it was part... But how can you predict if MaxPax is going to wall off right like that? That's the question. So, kind of a freestyle choice, but now we're all tied up. Reynor, not quite successful. And that brings us to Game 3 on Goldenaura. I like your gumption, son, but you're in way over your head. Alright. Looks like we've snapped back to reality. As both players building... Well, I assume MaxPax will also be building a base on his side of the map. Otherwise, I will be very confused. I guess there are occasional scenarios where you try the gold, but never as, like, the first expansion, unless there's a hatchery at your natural, so... Spawning pool halfway done. I do wonder how MaxPax felt about that. Like, is he really doing this? It felt like one of those builds where you cancel the hatch in order to get... You build the hatch so they have to wall off poorly or not at all, and then try to use that to carve your way through, but MaxPax handled it beautifully. Alright, that was near pixel perfect defense for any variety of those proxy hatch builds. I mean, he's a ladder hero. Might be playing... I think he plays the most games of anyone, though under a barcode. Shame. Especially when he's playing against streamers, but still. Stargate it is. Of course. Probe comes back, and we're gonna have a much more middle of the road sort of early game. I do want to see at least one game with MaxPax doing his trademark blink micro. He's so good with those mass blink stalkers. He makes stalkers look like a good unit, which is going to upset a lot of people, that statement, but they're just not particularly great against anything unless you micro better than a deep learning AI. But has anyone ever seen DeepMind and MaxPax in the same room? I rest my case. Bake them away, toys. Oh, wow. Ah, wow. Unnecessary yet... At that point, yeah, just give it up. He deserves it. He probably spent more money than it would have cost to rebuild a drone on building spore crawlers, but... It's a matter of principle of the thing. Zergling speed done, but the Oracle already in position, and the Overlord pushed out. He's not going to be able to say, hey, hello? Anyone going to kill that Overlord? Gets a reprieve. The Zerglings get in. Oh, wait a second. Well, that's annoying. Having to light up another Oracle? Reynor off to a strong start. Using all the energy on these oracles just to deal with a handful of lings is certainly not the ideal choice. And did the Overlord... I think it got killed, right? Yeah, he went out and got it. But now Reynor is able to build up... Gonna have 50 drones well before 5 minutes. And already has spore crawlers ready. MaxPax already added the 2 gases. There's the Twilight and Forge. But a bit delayed. And now, really going to be looking for damage with the oracles in order to keep Reynor in check. But the queen should already be in position by the time they arrive. We'll find out. Comes in. 2 queens, though. Kills 4 drones. 1 badly bruised oracle, but another oracle coming in, but just slaps down a revelation as the queens are obviously aware of this. Evolution chamber on the way. No lair, so +1 melee almost certainly on the agenda as Reynor loves those Zerglings. And they are very helpful against the mass blink stalker. You usually need something else in support, but generally a strong choice. There it is. 4 adepts. Shady bunch follow-up. Queen's in position. But the Zerglings on the 3rd. MaxPax didn't have the warpins ready, and now we'll lose several more probes. As Reynor is taking every single opportunity. The recall back, but the recall goes to the main. He didn't have the energy at the 3rd. This is a slow-moving train wreck right now. 6 probes dead. He may get the pylon. This is unacceptable. This is way too much damage for 6 Zerglings to saunter in and get. He's gonna try to kill some drones. He's lucky to keep the oracles alive. But MaxPax really struggling. And now Reynor's building 5 gas scout. Why are you building 5? He's got 72 drones. He's bought himself so much space, and he knows it. He might be almost too greedy here, but now Reynor is getting a massive amount of Vespine gas. Usually means Mutas. Hydras are also on the table, but certainly not just Zerglings. Explain. Reynor, explain. There it is. Aspire. I like it. In most cases, aspire is something you aspire to, rather than be inspired by. But in this case, because Reynor already has such an economy with so much production, he knows he can defend with just Zerglings. MaxPax doesn't have the relative level of production to threaten the amount of Zerglings that are on the field. Sure, he can poke and prod, he has the blank. But as long as Reynor is careful not to get too greedy, which the lack of a Banelane nest is a bit concerning, I will say. But as long as he's careful not to get too greedy, he should be alright. But the downfall of many players who go Spire is trusting in the mutas to end things. But oh my, Reynor has... Okay, usually it's like 5 or 8 or even 10. Reynor's gonna have 15 mutas out the gate. Assuming he survives this attack. But the Zerglings, they know about the stasis. The queens, can you tell if they're moving or are they in stasis?
Oh, don't be rude.
The stalkers, they blink in, but the Zerglings, oh no, and the oracles don't have the energy. Where are you going? Hello? MaxPax, hand over the controller. The Zerglings just surround everything, and now there are 17 mutas in production. It's a disaster. And now it's just a death animation. He can't stop those mutas. Those are GG mutas right there. The question is, how long after seeing the mutas will it take for MaxPax to GG? I still believe he's a top tier, very fast player. So I'm gonna say 2 seconds, all right? 1 second to process and 1 second to realize I was wrong. It was less than 2 seconds, all right? You guys are probably, but instantly GG's. The split second he sees it. And they take it home. The muta finisher. After the Zerglings around. And a bit uncharacteristically sloppy, but MaxPax thrown off from the start. I feel like that proxy hatch kind of threw him for a loop there. And now, Reynor up 2-1, match point. Wow. That was some very clean Zerglings. What Reynor originally was known for, the precision with the smallest units, making so much out of literally the cheapest unit in the game. And now again, we still see it serving him well. Game 4. Reynor just one away. Another base. I love watching Zerglings actually work instead of being just chasing out. Yeah, MaxPax a bit sloppy, but that's the difference a few seconds makes. It's hard to tell when you're watching. I don't know if it's hard to tell, but I think it's easy to get distracted by little mistakes that players made. Like missing a worker here or there, or getting supply blocked, or maybe losing a unit. But they add up over time to such a dramatic difference. And even a player like MaxPax can make little mistakes. And Reynor will take advantage of them in a way that almost no one else could. I feel sometimes, and maybe we'll start doing more and more, bonus games of Bronze League heroes. Because of the typical suggestion of like the Olympics. We should have just a regular dude, all right, out there running the 100-meter dash for reference, of course. Like, these guys are all so ridiculously fast. It's like, pretty fast, but they all seem pretty close. I want Joe out there. Hey, Michael, get in here and run the 100-meter dash. Yeah, it's like 110 yards. Don't shut up. Shut up. Sorry. That's one football field. Anyways, but yeah, these players and their little details, and that's why the early game of Protoss versus Zerg is such. It's so much hurry up and wait, like the tension. Where if you're Zerg, you can't build too many Zerglings If you build 20 Zerglings to counter Adepts, if they spot it, and that's very likely they will, they can just sit in their base, and your economy is severely hamstrung in the early game. You can't afford to use that larva or those minerals on so many Zerglings. Whereas, at the same time, if they don't build any Zerglings, and you don't even try to pressure them, if you don't send this Adept in to take a look around and be generally annoying, then the Zerg might get so far ahead that it's almost impossible to catch up as Protoss. So that's why there's this flirting with the idea of committing with the Adepts and the Oracles to essentially keep the Zerg honest, and it's on the Zerg. And I think most non-Zergs will appreciate this. It's on the Zerg to try to be as devious as possible and mask their plays instead of being upstanding and honorable, like, I don't know, pick something. Speaking of devious, Adept Glaives. He's gonna be throwing a whole lot of shade. In fact, this is straight to Twilight Council. Do not pass go. Do not build a Stargate. Do not collect an extra 150 minerals and gas. But instead, directly going for the Neeb build of old. 50 shades with glaives. Well, probably not quite that much. But still, 4 gate with Robo. It's not like MaxPax is hurting his economy too much with this. The big weakness is if Reynor crushes it, there's nothing to stop the Roaches and Lings from just winning the game. So you do have to keep the pressure on. But I think at this point, clearly Reynor is aware that the Adepts are coming. He's aware there's a severe lack of Oracles at all. So, here we are. Adepts warping in. A Robo Bay behind. He's gonna go for the double barrel shotgun behind it looks like. Very likely Disruptors. Adept Glaives cancels the shades. Reynor is at 38 drones during this. He has to cut his drones so low because otherwise he doesn't have enough units to cover all his bases. And that's something you kind of need to do with Adepts because they can shade all over the screen. Super annoying, to be honest. Adepts flirting with the Queens. And there's the Ruptor. Though the Robo Bay was spotted by the Overlord, right? Yeah. He's getting Gravitic Drive, aka Warp Prism Speed. So he's gonna load it up, and I like how he splits the Adept Shades, which really sells the idea you're gonna complete the shade. It's a little detail, but a lot of players, when they're just throwing it out there to keep pressure on, won't do little things like that. They're too focused back at home. MaxPax is expanding. He's got the Ruptors. I think one out, now working on the second. And once he gets Gravitic Drive, he can bring the Prism back easily and load up the double barrel. And Reynor reaches for the Spire again. A smart choice against Robo, but the distinct difference here is that MaxPax has a standing army that is still very dangerous. In the last game, Reynor had so much map control, he had so many units that really he couldn't move out. Like MaxPax couldn't move out without severe risk, as he found quickly. But here, he can keep the pressure on. There won't be 19 mutas showing up. At least not right off the bat. As the Disruptors are revealed, it's Adept Ruptor. He's getting Blink now. There's no Roach speed, and that means he gets a pentakill on the Roaches. And the Adepts are just shading by, looking for an opportunity. They get into the mineral line. The Zerglings were held in reserve. And, well, the Adepts will die. He's targeting the drones now. Yeah, this could have gone better. Not in love with how that went. I was optimistic. Will he see the Spire? He's sharking around. And yes. Fires off a shot at the drones. He actually goes deep with it against 10 kills. Oh my. Instead of moving it around, he just chased down the drones further away. And now Reynor, what was once middling at best. He recalls back the Prism. The Disruptors are firing. You gotta be real careful. He almost got stuck in his own pylon there. That last shot, he's holding on to it. The threat of that shot is almost as important as the shot itself. Only loses 2 probes. The Roaches are getting into the natural. He's juggling. Ghetto blinking the Stalker until he has the full upgrade. But MaxPax is struggling to deal with all this. There's no Mutas. There's a cannon in the main, so he kind of made it harder for the Roaches to get damage done because he has this fire, but more Roaches at the natural. Wait, what? Oh. Very careful not to clip his own shield battery. MaxPax cleans it up. And now, Reynor, he's building Mutas. MaxPax is down to 47 drones. Well, actually, he's down to 0 drones, technically. He's 47 probes, though, which is also not great. Observer dead. Spots that Mutas do actually exist. So if there was ever an opportunity to get some damage done before Reynor has too much economy, it's now. As the Mutas come across the map, MaxPax will likely... He's blinking forward just to get there quicker. Couple Stalkers warped in at home. There's really not much of a ground army at all. Just some Queens. He's still got 2 Ruptors. You can't really use them on the Zerglings, but the Colossus is much more helpful in that department. Until it walks into a Spore Crawler, which is certainly not ideal. The Mutas are coming back. He saves the day, but a Disruptor smacks the Queens. And most of them are taken down. The Warp Prism is targeted. The Colossus is bravely killing a Baneling Nest. The Disruptor comes around the corner. That Baneling Nest will go down. And actually, no Banelings makes this significantly more difficult. MaxPax working with those Blink Stalkers. The Mutas and Zerglings chasing down. And MaxPax can't afford to chase this all the way back. Does he know? He knows about the gold. At least he sees the creep. And should be angling towards it. Shield battery overcharge. Saves the day for now. And I think we'll see the moment. Is he not even bothering? The gold base is right there. Yeah, I just realized. Wow, didn't even register it until this moment. But he registered, and that's what's important. More drones dead. More Stalkers coming across. The supply is not looking incredible for Reynor, considering. Finally, that Spore. Oh my god. That's the Spore who wouldn't die. Meanwhile, Disruptor shots. Danger close. Fires at his own Stalkers. MaxPax just undercuts his Stalkers to take out a chunk of the Zerglings, but it may have been worth it. How many Lings are left? 15 Zerglings, 34 Stalkers. I think he's done it. By Jove! By Tassadar! The Stalkers are enough. That Blink Stalker micro is so... Wait, once he gets going. Last game was just a warm-up, but now... Reynor reached for the Mutas again, but he didn't have the economy nor the map control to really force the issue. And now... MaxPax has enough production. He keeps sending Stalkers across. The Muta count, there are no Archons here, so the Mutas are quite good. Another Ruptor shot. That Ruptor survived throughout all of this. Really making all the difference. The Queens trying to hold the line. A few Zerglings coming. It's not enough. The drones are being pulled, but a few Adepts make quick work. He still has the Glaives. And it's just too late. MaxPax threads the needle and finds the opportunity to cut through. Well played. And he turns it around and makes this a 5-game series. Wow. I get it. Mutas are the most fun unit for Zerg. You should take any opportunity you have to build them. And on paper, they were a great choice. But we don't play on tabletop here. And that means MaxPax is able to turn it around, just barely. I do think that in getting his Spire scouted, that was kind of a double win for MaxPax in scouting that Spire. Obviously, you scouted the Spire. But he built cannons in his mineral lines to deal with Mutas, which helped against the Roach counter. And Reynor did that Roach counter because he was trying to hit before MaxPax really countered the Mutas. So it kind of just an anti-timing sort of scenario that ended up working against him. And even then, still, Reynor almost brings it back, but MaxPax gets his Blink Stalkers up and running. Or teleporting. Whatever that, you know. It doesn't really matter. Moving on. Game 5. Ghost River is where it will be decided. The smallest map in the pool. Least amount of bases. And named after the most hated unit by both Zerg and Protoss. So. Overlord gliding in as it does, all tentacly. Not here to judge. He just went for the third. MaxPax, of course, making sure Reynor's forced into the third base. Makes it a lot easier to get some damage done with the Adepts, with the Oracles. Be a general nuisance. Twilight first. I mean, it worked out. I'm feeling Dark Templar. A Shrine to Dark is always a strong choice. But in the scheme of things, considering where we are in the series, considering where we are as a civilization, okay, as a people, I would like to humbly beseech you to like and subscribe. And also, to see a Dark Shrine. I want DTs. MaxPax, give me what I want. What I really... He's not doing DTs. It's Glaze. But he's not. I don't care about the Adept Micro. I'm staring at this. It's Glaze. Okay. That doesn't entirely rule out a DT follow-up. But it does decrease the likelihood. He wouldn't do it again. Glaives are back on the menu. This is one of those more general meta shifts. Where, because of the almost gentleman's agreement between Protoss and Zerg, and it happens in all matchups. Like, this is what the meta is. You go Stargate every time. If players went for a Twilight Council more often, like on a regular basis, then we'd see a lot more either Quick Lair, for mutas and stuff like that, or just all-in builds out of Zerg. Because just coming across with a bunch of roaches, there's really not enough units to defend. This is very reliant on the Zerg not knowing it's coming. To some extent. Because otherwise they can certainly hedge their bets. But when you still think it could be Oracles, or even a Void Ray or two to defend, you can't really commit to that same level of all-in. But here come the Shades. And they're going to have Glaives the moment they get there. This looks like a normal sort of build. 4 Adepts. But the lack of an Oracle is a giveaway in and of itself. Like, by this point in the game, you have an Oracle. Or a third. Having neither of those things, danger. Alright. Lair is on the way. As Reynor keeps trying to... He's poking and prodding, but it's pretty clear now. It's Glaives. Again. And 6 gates. It's all about the Glaives. Shades through. Will he complete any? Even though there's a secondary shade into the third base. With just 2 Adepts. He's gonna use this in order to get up the ramp, and now no concave there. The Zerglings. Whoa. He has to get in. Or, he gets in. The Adepts will shade all the way through to the main. Kill a Queen. Reynor chasing down. Another shade to the natural. So tough to deal with. He won't complete it as he thinks. He's fighting the roaches. He's just fighting the roaches heads up. It's not like Reynor has a huge economy. If he can trade with the roaches, the biggest weakness of this sort of attack is usually you commit so much to killing drones, their army is too big and you can't deal with it. But he's actually fighting bits and pieces. And he just keeps adding more Adepts. The third base is under attack. Drones are popping out. They'll die immediately. Here come the queens. But there's not even creep in between.
Brenda, I told you to bring creep! Shut up, Susan, that was your job!
And MaxPax is slowly but surely making progress. But the roach count is also growing. Third base is on the way. That's really not that many roaches. Warp Prism, very, very important to keep alive. Without the Warp Prism here, he can pin down the units and force the issue. The lair is done for Reynor. He's now sneaking out some more drones. He doesn't have roach speed, which is somewhat problematic at this stage. And he agrees, starts it off. Well, that's a lot of adepts. 22 adepts, 2 immortals, I think are in that prism. The third base, he warps in a few adepts. I think the Zerglings will one. They might just be able to kill the adepts. But meanwhile, force field, juggling the immortals. Is there enough to actually fight this army? It's likely MaxPax will lose the third, but so will Reynor. And Reynor losing a few more drones as well. The probes, yes. The probes actually being rallied out. A bit of a mistake there. There's no more force fields, but the shade, the threat of the shade is the key part. He actually completes a couple. The immortals, this is kind of a slow-moving fight. I think the roaches are enough. He still has the immortals to juggle, though. And the adepts will complete a shade into the natural. The drones are already on the run. Recall's just a handful of adepts out. Immortals are headed for the main. Where, well, there's still enough queens. 6 queens on the field. He's juggling. Gonna try another hatch. That's optimistic. If he loses the... Well, here we are. If he loses the prism, the game is over. If he doesn't, it's confusing. MaxPax unable to close it out. He's building another immortal at home, but the warp prism's on the other side, so the immortal and the positioning, I think, are enough here. And he might be able to cut off some of these roaches on the way home. And the juggled immortals. He can technically dodge the roach shots unless they're in melee range, because then they switch to a melee attack. Same damage, same thing. It just can't dodge it. Not when they're scratching your face. So, MaxPax, for a moment, looked like he may break through, but now he's got to micro this warp prism and 2 immortals for his entire life. As without it, there's nothing stopping Reynor from coming across the map and winning the game. Now retaking that third. Few Zerglings, beautiful juggling. Reynor up 50 supply. Make no mistake, though. The army value is quite comparable. He needs that prism. He still hasn't taken any hull damage, I don't think. Yeah, full hull damage. So, right on the edge of the range he needs to be. And now a Templar Archives. Storm would be great, but it's also a long way off. A Disruptor's on the way. I don't think any on the field. That's a lot of Immortals out there. Well, Force Field could be helpful, but Zerglings get in. Breaks it down. Zerglings trying to at least bait some of the units out of position. What a tense game. Neither player with enough economy to really tech switch here. You can't just go Stargate because they have roaches. That's how you die to a Queen Walk or any variety of things. And at the same time, Reynor can't just go mutas without risking dying outright to a counterattack. Especially before they complete. So Roach Burrow, Tunneling Claws is the choice. Wow. If you gave me 3 or 4 more guesses, I wouldn't have come up with that. Maybe like 6 guesses, but would have said Swarm House or something. But Roach Burrow move is one way to work from this position. There's no, well, it's more for the regen and the maneuverability as opposed to a big surprise sort of situation. He has a Ruptor in that prism. If Reynor doesn't realize it, it could be a game-ending shot. as any disruptor could, but so little of the time actually is. And the force fields may help to force the issue as well. That's in the name. So, back and forth they go. Did he just reveal it? No, he was trying to phase it in. I'm not sure if it was spotted. He's really keeping his powder dry right now. Burrow on the way. Tunneling claws about to complete. There is an observer though, so that's not the end of the world. A single adept drags some of the units out of the way. Oh, he takes a shot. It's okay. Backing off. Guardian shield. Banelings, though, rolling through. A lot of immortals in front. He's got to juggle them out, but he only has one prism to do so. The Archons are not enough. That's just way too much. He fires off the shots, and Reynor knocks down the prism for victory. Reynor holds on. Wow. A tense series. MaxPax with some mistakes in Reynor, with an attention to detail that you love to see, and barely ekes out a victory over MaxPax's aggression. But I thoroughly enjoyed a bit of a different Zerg versus Protoss showdown. But back to the classics here with Reynor versus MaxPax. I hope you enjoyed as well. Thank you for watching. If you got the means and motivation, it'd be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free, at least for now. But hopefully it made your day just a little bit better. I'll see you next time. Good luck, have fun, stay chill.